What should I do with my stimulus check?
So, what I encourage people to do is there's several things. What Nancy and I have done, we've gotten to thus far, and we've given it away. So, I think going through the rigmarole of trying to get that pint of water to flow back up the river is a fool's errand. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be dependent on I don't want to be in any way indebted to the federal government's fiscal insanity in doing this kind of thing. So what we do is we've just given it away. Now, having said that, there are situations where I think, let's say you're a small business owner, and it's the kind of business where the government's actions, just really knocked you end over end. Mm-hmm. I don't think someone who takes money to fill that hole is sinning, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a sin. I wouldn't ever admonish or rebuke someone for it. If someone came to me and said, should I would say you need to be very wary of strings. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a sin. In some cases, I could see that it could be a good idea, but I think we should be far, far more suspicious of government largesse than we have been. And my general operating assumption is refuse the benefits first. If you don't like the tyranny, if you don't like the regulations, if you don't like the laws, you're going to have more moral credibility if you turn down the benefits first. Don't let them be your savior.
Yeah.
If they were the ones who caused the problem in the first place.
I know just from the position of running a college in an industry that is almost entirely supported by federal money, that it is remarkable how not taking that money just gives you a completely different strategy, outlook on life.
And a spring in your step.
Well, a great deal of peace as you see all kinds of weird things getting attached to that money, and to just be free of it is really helpful. But there's also, there is this moment as you look at other institutions that are getting all of these, 6 and 7 figure checks that are not that much bigger than your own, and you kind of look over wistfully, wishing that you could have that. But when you get that kind of money never breeds financial discipline.
Right.
6 months later or 12 months later, you end up being worse off because it never does good things to you.
And what happens when you're talking to presidents or administrators in colleges like that, and they find out that you don't take a dime, mm-hmm. Do they say, "Oh, you're an idiot," or do they look at you wistfully?
Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny mix. I see. Like some of them, a lot of them. You can tell they feel this moment of conviction or guilt, and then so there's a real need for them to kind of excuse it and explain how it makes no difference and there won't be any consequences for them. And but some of them will then say, "Man, I wish we could be there because it would be so much easier." But those are like these little glimpses of honesty that you only occasionally get.
Right. So I basically avoid taking handouts from the government wherever possible. There are some. Here's another situation. This is not a pandemic stimulus relief, but it's the same principle. If someone wrote in and said, should I take Social Security? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'd say, have you paid into it? I would urge you not to take from Social Security more than they extorted from you. Mm-hmm. Right. But if you paid into it over 30 years, and they're offering to make restitution,
right?
Sure, take restitution and 20%, and then start tearing the checks up after that. Mm-hmm. That's different because you were one of the ones who paid into it under duress, and you could perhaps apply that to other situations related to the stimulus thing. You look at your taxes, and you look at the taxes and look at what they're offering you, mm-hmm. and say, okay, this might begin to touch that. But still, even so, they're keeping track of what you're receiving. Mm-hmm. Right? They're keeping they will act like they are your benefactor. Mm-hmm. And if you try to resist them on their their restrictions, they're going to come back and say, well, you're a hypocrite because you took this money.